All right, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Hideout Utah Public Open House with Rocky Mountain Power. Rocky Mountain Power is going to be doing a presentation tonight about their Silver Creek to Camas wildfire project and the impacts that it's going to have to Hideout. With that, I'd like to introduce Andy Badger, the Regional Business Manager for Rocky Mountain Power, who will take you away.
Thank you. So this is to provide an overview of our project that we are looking to start, rebuilding an existing transmission line. The reason why we're doing this is Rocky Mountain Power has been working with the state of Utah, and we've recognized the risk of wildfire for many years due to the potential of wildfire sparks being emitted from utilities. The Utah legislation passed a House Bill 66, Wildfire Planning and Cost Recovery Amendments in 2020. This new bill requires utilities such as Rocky Mountain Power to prepare and submit a wildland fire protection plan in accordance with Utah Code 54-24-201. In response, Rocky Mountain Power has developed a comprehensive plan for wildfire mitigation efforts in all of its territories. This plan is designated to reduce the probability of utility-related wildfires and mitigate damage to electric facilities because of wildfire. Specific facilities have been identified, such as this existing line that runs through Hideout, to be located in high fire consequence areas. And therefore, the improvements proposed were developed to reduce the risk and lessen the impact of wildland fires. Rocky Mountain Power is evaluating and selecting certain electrical distribution circuits, which are used to distribute power to homes and businesses that meet the required to reduce and limit exposure to wildfires. So with that overview, I'll turn the time over to who is our contractor that is working on the project. And he'll provide an overview of the line.
Yeah, so just quick overview here of the line. Just want to put some can you guys see my screen?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Just put them what Andrew just explained here. So the purpose of the overall scope here in the Hideout is three major things that we're doing. So we're pretty much most of the distribution conductor that are running right now below the transmission line going to be replaced by an underground system running along the existing PUE or beside the roads whenever we have easements, and that's going to be hopefully done this year. And then the second objective is to connect underground, transfer some of the load from the line that connects Silver Creek to Camas to the line that goes from Silver Creek to Jordan. And that will be just a small section of the work that's gonna achieve that to just kind of balance the load. We'll see it on the next map how they're doing that. And then the last scope will be to upgrade the transmission system with the more fire hardening structures that's going to allow and eliminate the risk of fire on those overhead transmission lines. This just showed the map right now of how the Hideout community is fed, and as you can see, there is a lot of red that as most of the line is being fed from Camas. But the purpose of some of the underground work is to transfer that load to Jordan to get the network balance between Jordan substation, Silver Creek substation, and the Camas substation.
Your slideshow is not advancing in Zoom.
Oh. Sorry.
Okay. It's still on that first page. No, on a different screen. It's still on that page. There we go. It just changed.
Okay.
Okay, so we didn't see the third slide.
previous one.
Yeah, that one,
This one.
that one, now it's showing on the Zoom.
So we're gonna start the work right now at that small piece here, and that's the connection between the two lines. The line that goes to Camas and the line that goes to Jordan, and this will be underground. Once we do that transfer, we can start removing the portion of the line that goes to Jordan, which is under overhead right now. So that will be removed as part of this scope. And then we will start kind of putting underground, like all the distribution system that runs overhead right now along the hideout community. This is another piece here that's gonna be built after we build that bypass there between Silver Creek and Jordan. Another piece here that we're building. Oh, it's not showing.
No, oh, that one is right. It's okay.
And then this is the last piece actually on Hideout, on the Hideout town. And then there is another piece that we're building on the Summit County, and that just to connect, to kind of, because the line comes from Silver Creek substation, so just to connect to the overall underground system that connect Hideout. This is kind of the schedule that we're looking to hopefully to achieve, to connect, to vary some of the underground stuff in Hideout. So we're looking to start right now and then keep going until hopefully just before the mid-November, end of November, or once we can't keep going with the snow and the conditions here.
Andy, can you pause back on the schedule? It's very hard to see on this, at least I can't.
Oh.
Can you just like walk us through what the schedule says?
So those slides that I just covered there, they show the sequence from like the pieces of the line that we're gonna be building. So we're starting with three crews for installing the vaults, and 2 crews gonna be installing the conduit. And after that, we're gonna have a crew that's gonna start pulling the wire. The first crew gonna mobilize, they're working this week. And then we're planning to bring another crew on the 16th of October. On the 11th of September. And then there is the last crew will start on the 18th of September. And then the wire pulling won't start until end of October.
Okay, so 18th of September is a week from now.
Well, I think we need to just mention, this is also dependent on permitting, right?
Okay.
Getting approval from the county, the community, and being able to do this work.
Okay, thank you.
And those permits, we're talking about excavation permits.
No, more so getting complete approval from the hideout community and moving forward with that.
And this is the transmission work, so that transmission work cannot start until we finish all the underground stuff and decommission the Jordan line, this yellow line here. Then we're gonna start reconductoring some of the transmission line and then changing the poles that you can see here on the image. But maybe I should share the one that have the pole numbers, so you guys can have a better view. So we're starting from structure 44 right here. And then we're going. Yeah, so we're starting from 44 going to all the way to structure 85. They will be replaced with steel monopoles. They're taller structures for the most. Some of them are shorter. This is kind of a table recap of all the poles that we're replacing. It shows the existing, it's the overall height above ground of the existing structure and the new structures. And this slide, it just shows like kind of the operation that we're gonna be running, so we will have the trencher or excavator digging the trench. And then, that just to support the excavation, we usually put trench boxes for our workers to make sure they're safe when, if they have to do anything near the trenches. And then we'll lay the conduit and we'll backfill this. The vault's gonna take a bigger space than the trench, and usually we set up the traffic control, we set up the shoulder protection, and we keep the traffic running while we are still doing our construction work. And that's when we start putting the wire. So putting the wire, we only need access to the vault location, which usually they are every 600 feet, we have a vault location, and we just pull the cable from this location to the next location. And that's pretty much, yeah, for the kind of the notifications, so I'm sure most of the community are gonna start or already received letters that there is construction that's gonna start very soon here, and with the contact number of the contractor and phone numbers, and we have our liaison here. So he's our land agent, so he's the guy that's gonna be yeah, so he's the contact for all any issues on land here with the properties.
And then I think it's worthwhile to mention as well, if there's any outage required for this, the community will be notified. We do plan on limiting matter to as little as possible, but the community will be notified if it is required.
Can you tell us what kind of notification methods you use?
So currently, and some of you might already be getting notifications from Rocky Mountain Power, it will say, hey, we expect maintenance or construction, and there'll be an outage in the community from this time to this time. If it is an extended outage, Rocky Mountain Power usually provides, shortens it so that we can either do it in groups or again, limit the impact to the community.
And the notifications, are they in the mail or are they through an app or website or some other electronic?
Yes, so if you go into your Rocky Mountain Power app and through the website, you can like sign up for these notifications and they'll reach out. If you're not signed up for that, they will send out mailers or you'll be contacted via mail directly to your residents that'll be affected.
Is it only the people that have accounts that get notified or?
If you're tied into the Rocky Mountain Power, if you have power, then you will be notified. If you're signed up, then you can receive that digitally. If not, you will just receive like a mailer to that address.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
One portion we'll just speak to on that is that every customer, in this case, wanting to know about notifications from Rocky Mountain Power, we would highly encourage you update that information and get signed up for, we recognize text, email, and even mailers are optional. But the more information you can get from us, the better off, especially as we talk about wildfire safety and the communications that we'll have with our customers around. That will be through those methods that the customers choose to be notified.
Great. Are we going to talk anything more about wildfire safety tonight? Any presentation, or is that just a mention of wildfire safety? Because I know you had your own station over here.
Yeah.
For those folks who were here in the in-person open house, we had a fantastic presentation about wildfire safety. Is that something we're going to cover?
We can talk about ultimately the 4 operational practices that we're employing for wildfire safety. We recognize that wildfire is a risk for us, and typically it's weather-driven risk. So our biggest impact for wildfire is wind. As we operate in season for wildfire, it's a typical season of March to October kind of a situation for us up here. Anytime there's no snow on the ground, we consider a chance for a wildfire start, right? And so the higher the risk, the drier the conditions where the fuels are more susceptible to wildfire ignition, we change the way that we operate. So typically during wildfire season, and we have meteorologists and we coordinate with the Geographical Area Coordination Council for fuels, but we work with those individuals to understand our risk as an organization. And during the higher risk area timeframes, and one of the reasons we want to go underground is when it's an overhead distribution line, oftentimes we'll have to operate circuitry in different formats. And so we call those enhanced safety settings. So by going underground, you guys won't be as impacted, but other areas that are overhead will still remain impacted by choices that we've made as an organization to put our customers in a better safety situation. And so we'll operate in enhanced safety settings. So a typical day will have a normal event that may cause an outage. Maybe it's a wind-blown branch or a branch on a tree comes free, and that causes a fault on the line. On a typical day, it'll fault out 3 different times. But when we go into enhanced safety settings, that one fault will cause a lockout. Then it'll require our crews to go out and inspect and patrol the infrastructure to make sure that it's safe before we re-energize. So we're going to see more outages that occur during these enhanced safety setting features during this fire seasons. Again, this will be a benefit to this area where they go underground. It won't necessarily be as impactful. Another option for us due to wildfires are encroachment policy. There's a wildfire encroaches upon our assets. As an organization, we may choose to de-energize to protect the public as well, and also to help with our first responders as they fight that fire. If we communicate with them, and I'm in the emergency response world, I'm Rocky Mountain Power's emergency manager, we can coordinate with the firefighters on the ground and let them know that those assets are being de-energized, and they can then utilize aerial drops and be able to fight the fire more effectively. And then the last option for us, and it's the absolute last resort in protecting the assets, is when we know that the fuels and the conditions by the weather are going to be most impactful and we can't control the wind at that point, obviously, and the winds and the outage risk come together, the opportunity for us to then create what we call public safety power shutoff that can occur. And that's going to be something that we'll be monitoring out with our meteorology team and our fuels experts to be able to try and understand as best as possible and communicate to our customers outwards of even 4 days, trying to help them understand that this is a possibility. And we'll continue those communications up until imminent, but we'll make decision to be able to de-energize so that the wind doesn't impact our lines and we don't start a wildfire. So the chances of a PSPS exist. They're remote, but there's still a possibility. And then after a PSPS, the time frame that we're looking at is 12 to 24 hours for most de-energizations. After the front goes through, our crews will then try to patrol and inspect the lines as quickly as possible, but making sure that we're doing it as safely as possible. But they'll only do that during daylight hours. So the nighttime may extend the outage due to the chances of our crews going out and safely going in, inspecting and patrolling our lines before we re-energize. So,
How many times have you had to call a PSPS in recent memory?
yeah, in Rocky Mountain Power Service territory, we've only done 1 PSPS. It occurred down in the Cedar City area in 2022. We've never had another one, knock on wood. We don't want to do it, right? But it is a safe opportunity for us to be able to protect our customers and the public in general. So public safety power shutoff is rare, but they are a part of our operational practice to protect the community against wildfire risk for our utility.
Great, thank you. That's all really important information. Everyone who listens to Hideout knows that our #1 risk is wildfire here.
And if you want more information on it, you can go to our website and go to outage and safety. It's a tab at the top, and you can drill down into wildfire safety. And there's a number of different little videos that you can actually pull up to kind of explain this maybe a little bit more in depth and spend a little bit more time trying to understand it. If there's anything I covered that didn't maybe jive with you or you didn't understand.
Thank you.
And that link was also provided on the handout.
Okay, and the handout. So we want to remind everyone that there's a flyer for this, and it's currently on the town website. If anybody hasn't seen the flyer, just go to hideoututah.gov and look for it on the homepage. Now that we've kind of had an overview of why this is happening and what is happening, I can start maybe with a couple questions, and then maybe we can turn it over to the folks on the Zoom to, raise their hands if they have any questions. So my first question is, if you could just explain to the audience what the difference is between a distribution line and the other one? The transmission line, thank you. And who would like to take that question?
Sure, I'll take it. So I'm
Thank
Brent
you.
Swander. I'm the project manager with Rocky Mountain Power over this project. And Adam kind of alluded to it early on in his discussion, but distribution is what kind of distributes to the community. So it's more community based. Those are the smaller poles, smaller lines you see closer to your house. The transmission lines are the larger corridors that you see out there. He brought up kind of the line there, but they're larger structures that support multiple wires and cables that go through that. And that's kind of the way I kind of phase it. It kind of transports the energy to the communities. The distribution actually feeds the houses and the companies that need the power.
And we only have one transmission line coming through Hideout?
Correct. That feeds.
There's just the one,
Yes,
okay, and then the others, all the other lines in Hideout are considered distribution.
correct. Yes.
Okay, will 100% of the distribution lines be buried in Hideout during this project? Or is there a specific project area?
So this is, and again, kind of alluded earlier, so there is a fire high consequence area that's been determined. This project is focused on that, so our priority is to get those lines underground. There may or may not be additional lines that are not a part of this, that again, maybe in future projects down the line. But as far as prioritization goes, these are what has been deemed priority level 1 and we're proceeding with. So.
Okay, Adney, will you still share, can you go back to that? The part of your PowerPoint that shows kind of the overall, where the distribution lines and where the transmission lines are. So people have something to reference when they have.
And I think that was on the handout as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so with that, Alicia, can we open this up to questions? Or do we want to follow the normal format that we do for public meetings, which is if you have a question, raise your hand and you'll be unmuted and we'll give you the floor to speak.
You can just use the icons on the little toolbar in Zoom to raise your hand if you're not familiar. Oh,
Okay, and is there anybody on phone only? That's not Zoom? Okay, great. So you can all use Zoom to do this. Looks like Daniel.
If you're sharing, go to the game.
All right,
Um,
Daniel, you're up.
yeah, I'm the Public Works Director. I couldn't be there in person, so here I am. Ta-da. You guys have already started work, correct?
No,
No.
the first step is permitting, which is going to happen rapidly.
So they're not the ones in town boring and stuff right now.
No, boring, that's different, I think that's the subdivision, that's that.
There's 2 or 3 other subcontractors or contractors in town currently right now that have, I saw probably 2 or 3 drill rigs boring. Today, we're driving through the hideout.
So would that be developers that are developing
Yes.
like maybe?
Yeah,
I think that's Comcast.
I was just checking because if you guys are gonna do things like that, just as you drove through town, I don't know if you noticed, our roads are really tight. And I need to get a hold of Comcast and let them know that when they park their trucks a long ways like that, it's hard for residents to see around corners and blind curves and whatnot. I just strongly encourage your guys, when they're parked on the side of the road like that, remember you've cut us down to 1 lane. So I need somebody either at both ends or in the middle flagging with a flag or just their hand to direct traffic, please. Because when
So,
I drove
yeah.
through town today, I was concerned with the safety of our residents driving. And I thought it was you guys, so I was waiting until now. If it's Comcast, I'll contact them. But just, if you drive through town, anytime see this, just be aware that when you cut and you park, even with the tire off the side of the road, you cut my roads to 1 lane. So please, please, please have the mind to have somebody out there flagging for the safety of our residents and anybody traveling through Hideout, please.
So just to add to that, like we do have a traffic control plan company, like a private company that does pretty much all the shoulder, if we're doing any shoulder works, we're gonna set up our traffic control measures, we're gonna set flagging, set signs, like everything that we have to do. Like we do it same way as we assume like we're working beside the highway. So our setup for traffic control gonna be exactly the same.
Okay, I mean, that's just as a public works director, that's as I drive through town, those are the things that I notice and see. And it concerns me when I see it. So I thought that was you guys already started. And I apologize that I thought it was you guys, and I'll just talk to Comcast, but that it's just one of my concerns. Our roads are super tight. They're 20 miles an hour, but people don't drive 20 miles an hour. And I just don't want one of your guys getting hit or a resident getting hit walking a dog or an accident. So I understand you got traffic control and stuff, but just please be mindful for me. And that was my comment, my question and my comment, because I wasn't there in person.
Well, thanks, Daniel. We're delighted you're here over the Zoom. Thank you. Good question. All right, it looks like iPad has their hand up. Okay, whoever iPad is, you're unmuted. Please, please state your name.
It might be me. My name is Peter Hutt, and I live up in the Rustler. Can you hear me?
Yeah, hi, Peter.
Okay. Hi. You may have covered this because I joined just recently, but I'm questioning the metal poles that are going to be above ground. I'm sure you already covered why they won't bury those, so I won't ask that, but that is a question. But more importantly, are there plans to add more wires to those lines once they're put in? So we're going to have more wires, or is it just for the existing lines that are out there?
No, so actually you'll be seeing less wires up there. So what we are doing, replacing those wood poles with steel poles. And then the underground portion that you probably weren't a part of either, we're taking those lower wires. So there's two tiers. You have the upper, which is our transmission. Currently our distribution runs on those poles. We're taking those off, going underground. So you will just see those two wires up on top. And then the rest will be going underground.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. I'm sorry if you already covered that.
No problem.
Looks like Rachel has her hand up. Rachel, go ahead.
It's actually Brian, lurking on Rachel's laptop. Hi. On the map, I didn't see the distribution line that goes from the line along 248 down to shoreline 2. I assume since that's above ground that will be put underground as well. Is that true?
That is a great question. So that's not on the map because it's not currently in scope for this project.
Correct.
We talked about that in the open house that was here. I see Glenn is on. Is Glenn Gabler? That's on the, Alicia's gonna unmute you. Glenn.
There's a Glenn Seymour, that's me, not Glenn Gabler.
Okay, is Glenn Gabler on?
Yeah, this is Glenn Gabler. So,
Hey, Glenn.
Hi, everybody.
Hey, Glenn, before you continue, you sound like you're underwater in a cave right now. Can you get closer to your microphone?
Not any better?
Oh, way better. Okay, thank you.
Okay, yeah, I was outside, sorry. Yeah, I don't know, but I know what power distribution lines you're talking about, but I don't know what the plan is to bring those underground or not.
Glenn, have you contacted Rocky Mountain Power about those at any point?
No,
to
no.
discuss your ground?
I haven't. I saw the overall map and it looked like they're burying them underground, kind of north up there where Shoreline Drive turns on the Highway 248. But yeah, they've got the distribution lines that run underneath the Deer Waters development, and then also over to Shoreline 2, and then turns east and west and runs up the hill back to 248. So I don't know what their plan is with those.
Yeah, so for that particular circuit, that doesn't fall in the scope of this project. But if that's something, because that's the area that you're looking to develop, correct?
Well, we're in the process of developing it.
Yeah, so with you being the developer, what you do is contact Rocky Mountain Power directly And they would assign an estimator to come out and look at it and work with you, directly on, how that would go and design a job to be able to do that.
Okay, because I know our power for my shoreline phase 2 and phase 3 pulls off those distribution lines from poles that go underground. Everything we put in is new and underground. So who would I contact?
That'd be our service center, line, and that number is, 888 221 7070.
Okay, I think I've got that number. So call them to get some more information on it and who to reach out to over in the Park City office.
Yeah, you just request a work order to be set up, that you'd want to underground some distribution lines that's currently overhead through a development.
Okay,
And then
I'll reach out to them. Okay, so for now, they'll keep those lines energized coming through Deer Waters and Shoreline back up to the highway.
Correct.
Okay. Okay, I don't have any other questions, just clarification there. Thank you.
Can Glenn, contact you with that work order number, Andy, when he's done that? Is there any escalation, well, any way for you to look in on it and see if it can?
Yep, I can
Since
definitely
the
help.
crews are out
Yeah.
here, I know it's not part of your project, but maybe you can help.
Yeah, and that's kind of the challenge of it, is it would be a separate project.
Mhm.
But we can see what we can have happen.
Hey, great. Did you get that, Glenn?
I did,
Gonna
thank
see that happen.
Okay, I appreciate that. I'll reach out.
Thanks, Glenn.
Thanks.
Oh, okay, did Tracy and Glenn raise before Brian?
Brian.
Okay, Brian Cooper, you're up next.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, to Rocky Mountain Power, just kind of emphasize that if the whole reason is for fire safety to be burying the transmission lines, having a line connected into your system that's not buried, that goes right down to the lake, seems to me that should be included. Otherwise, you're kind of defeating the whole purpose. If that got damaged by fire, it would take out the whole distribution network anyway. Just a comment. I think it really ought to be included in the project. It just doesn't make any sense to leave that little piece off.
So,
Yeah, so what I don't know off the top of my head is if it's on the same circuit or not. So the way that the wildfire projects are going is it's by circuit, and there's several circuits in the area. And since that's not identified as part of this project, it's probably just a separate circuit that will eventually more than likely be identified. But that's the process that we've been going through, is by circuit. Right.
no, I agree. So when the commission takes into account these projects, they prioritize them into tiers. And again, like Andy said, this may be on a different tier as it is within the community. It's not in like a fire high consequence area, to be exact. Again, we'd have to look at maps and do all that, but it's not to say it won't be assessed at a later date.
Okay, it looks like we have Tracy and Glenn Seymour. Go ahead, you're unmuted.
Yeah, so I apologize, I was a few minutes late to joining this, but looking at the map that you've got up on the screen, you've got the green and then you've got the red with the pins on it. You're talking about, which line are you talking about burying?
So,
The red?
so the red is the line that's gonna get buried. And the green is the line that's gonna get, they're gonna stay overhead, but it will be improved with steel poles and better insulation on the wire supports.
And
Okay.
maybe a better way to say that, what's getting buried is not currently there overhead. It's on that green line currently. And we're now removing it from that transmission line and taking it underground in those locations.
Oh, so just some of the wires that are on those poles.
Correct.
The distribution.
Yeah, the distribution portion of it.
Why would, and again, I apologize if I did miss it at the beginning, but why would only part of that be buried and not all of it? Because I mean, a lot of that's running right through, almost some of it's parkland. It seems to be that's the area that has the highest wildfire risk.
So it is, again, there might be some confusion here. So anything in the red is underground or going to be underground. So I believe all the distribution is going underground. The transmission is the only thing remaining above ground that goes through on that green line.
Can transmission not be buried?
The transmission line can be buried, but that would be on Hideout, to work, with the community, to incur the cost difference to underground it. Reason being is, Rocky Mountain Power is an overhead, utility. And being a regulated utility, we can incur the cost to underground the transmission line in Hideout and
Okay.
not note it in Park City. So to answer your question, it can be underground. It would just be a matter of who would be going to pay for it. But we can work with whomever to design that and work out the costing to get it paid for.
Because it seems like if you're doing the work and you're trenching right there, sticking the other lines at the same time would seem to be cost effective.
So the distribution line that's coming on the structures will be removed, and it's being underground in the public utility easements along the roadway. It's being completely removed from the transmission line.
Got it.
So when the transmission line is rebuilt, it'll just be the structures that will be there, and then just the 3 conductors on the structure. So you go from 6 conductors to 3 conductors. And the trenching and the construction process to underground a transmission line is completely different than undergrounding a distribution line.
And you mentioned the transmission is, call it the artery or what have you, and the distribution serves it. But what we didn't mention is the different voltage classes for transmission versus distribution. That's basically the difference as well. So to bury transmission is a completely different story than burying distribution.
That's correct. So, yeah.
Okay.
Is there a percentage of many times more it costs? I mean.
So the cable for the transmission, because it's 138 above ground, or I'm saying transmission.
Uh-huh.
That conductor is maybe this big.
Okay.
138, depending on the amperage and stuff like that, just one of the cables, and 99 times out of 100, the transmission is gonna be 3-phase, so you're gonna have 3 cables that big.
Mhm.
And distribution right now, that what is going underground, I'm sorry, and I know that there's people, can they see me?
They can see you, yep.
Okay.
Just stare at the owl, stare at the owl.
The distribution cable is this big in the air.
Yep.
It's this big underground.
Okay. Gotcha.
And then the vaults for the transmission lines, it could be comparable to this room. I mean, it's substantial.
Okay, it's massive, you
Yeah,
say.
yeah.
Plus, you can't put them on the same trench. There is separation, there is minimum clearance between transmission and distribution. Plus, transmission, the backfill material is special material. You need thermal backfill because all the heat have to go out.
All the
This
heat,
distribution,
yeah.
they don't emit a lot of heat, but those lines are special. They need special backfill. Everything is special about them if you want to bury them.
And that's why you want to keep them up in the air for that reason,
Yeah.
right? You can access them.
Yeah,
They
it's
can
more
cool.
easy to maintain them.
Yes, much more easy to maintain.
And one of the other downsides to undergrounding is if a fault occurs on a transmission line underground, the time to repair that, put that back in service is substantially longer than with it being overhead. So I mean, obviously with the undergrounding of it, you gain, your visual aesthetics and all that, but there are some downsides to it as well.
And if I could add to that, also we're upgrading these poles, right? We're going from wood to steel, also the components. So we are making them more reliable up in the air. So again, to kind of looking at that wildfire mitigation portion of it, also reliability, so.
Conductors being upgraded as well.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you. Do we have any more hands? Okay, it doesn't look like we have any more questions or feedback from the attendees. Do you all have any final words you want to say before we end the meeting?
I mean, just something I would mention, we look forward to working with the community again, with any feedback, stuff like that, we're open ears. We want to make sure that, again, we're not affecting your life in any which way. I'm a ratepayer as well, like I know when work goes on in my community, I know when I have an outage, it affects my life. So we do want to kind of limit the effect we have as we do this work, but understand we are doing it for our wildfire mitigation program, also to increase reliability in the area, so.
Thank you. Well, we're very appreciative of the wildfire mitigation. As I mentioned earlier, it's a big concern for us here. So if there were to be a need to contact, of the project while it's ongoing, let's say the town gets a call from a resident with a complaint, or perhaps Dan, you'll see something that we need to address, who do we get hold of?
Once the work is started.
Once work is started.
So it would be Tyson Cunningham.
And that's, and those are the letter that you guys will receive, and that's his cell number. And, oh,
Yeah, we're gonna share that screen so everybody can see it
Okay,
on the Zoom.
share again.
We can send the information to the community and they can put it on there.
That'd be great, yeah, if you send it to us, Alicia can post it on the
Can you see
website
it
also.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, they can see it. I don't know why it freeze, but.
Okay, if you'll leave that page up, then we'll go ahead and, I'll do one more sweep of the room. I don't see anyone else that has any questions. This is your final chance to ask a question. We'll give you 10 more seconds to raise your hand. Okay, well, I want to thank everybody for your time today, making the trip out to Hideout. I don't know how far y'all came to get here, but hopefully it was a beautiful drive. And we're looking forward to your project, and thank you so much for this open house and giving, allowing the community to participate and learn more about the project before it gets started.
Absolutely. Happy to be here.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.